Welcome to Getting Started with the TI-Nspire Navigator System. My name is Nicole Moran, and I am very excited to be your presenter for this session. So let's talk about why the Navigator System is so exciting. It allows you to increase student engagement and assess students by wirelessly connecting to handhelds. You're able to send quick polls to check for understanding in the moment. You're able to send exploration activities to get students engaged in the learning process, and you're able to monitor engagement with screen capture and live presenter. So let's look at some of the hardware that comes with the Navigator system. This is the access point. This combined with the adapters makes the handheld wireless. The adapter looks like this. We refer to them as hats. They go on top of the calculators, and we usually hold them in a docking station, so it looks like that with the hats on top of them. Okay, you can see on the docking station, the lights are all green, so that means they are fully charged and ready to go. Once you have the hardware connected, you have your access point attached to your computer with the USB cable, and the hats are on your calculators, then you're going to want to work within the software. And this is the software. When you first open it, it only has 2 tabs because it's in the teacher software. So you're going to have to go to Window, and you're going to enable TI-Nspire CX Navigator. When you do that, it's going to open up 2 more tabs that now has the Navigator system for your classroom. So you have class here, and you can see students that are in your class, and you now have a portfolio tab to see the assignments that have been sent. So that is one of the first things you need to do when you first open up your software, your TI Navigator software, is enable it. So you have all the tabs available for you. The next step is to go up to the Tools tab and go to your Network Manager. Okay, if this is the first time working with the Navigator system, you're going to want to use the Network Setup Wizard, and that will take you through a step-by-step process to get the hats connected to your access point. There is a number, these numbers here that are showing up, those numbers are on top of the hats, and that process will add those hats to your access point. Okay, so we've already done that, so we already have those in there. The ones that are highlighted are the ones where the network has been identified on the calculator. So our network name is NISD, our channel is 11, and I know the band is 2.4 gigahertz. If you're in a classroom, in classrooms that are next to each other using multiple access points, you're going to want to make sure that your channels are different so they don't interfere with each other. So if you need to change your channels, you can come down here to change operating channel. And this is where you have 2 options. You can change your channel to something else, and you can also change your band. The 2 options are 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. The 2.4 gigahertz will work with most adapters, whether they're the original version or version 2s. If you have a 5.0 gigahertz band, it will only communicate with hats that have a V2 in the right corner. Those are version 2s. So now that we've gone over the hardware and the network manager to make sure that our hats are connected and talking with our access point, then we're going to go ahead and look at the class tab. The class tab is where you can add a roster of students, add individual students. You can take a screen capture of the class. You can also send press to test and exit press to test in here. So let's talk about adding students using a roster. So to add a roster, I'm going to start with an Excel file. I have a sample one here. It's very basic. Okay, so I have an ID number for my students, and the ID number does need to be at least 3 digits for it to be recognized. You do need to have a last name column, a first name column, and a class name column. Okay, so our best practice at our district is to use the ID number for the student's username, the student's password, as well as the student's ID number. So we use it for all 3 things. So once you have your Excel file correctly here with the headers on there with the class name, then you're going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to save it to my desktop, and it needs to be a comma delimited. So if you click here, some options will come up. Just make sure you choose the CSV, comma delimited, and click Save. If you don't save it in that format, it will not be recognized by the Navigator system. Okay, so now I'm over here. I can click the icon with multiple students. It's going to give me two options. Manually, do I want to add them or upload a CSV file? The fastest way is the upload. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to click next, and then I'm going to browse for that file. I save to my desktop. So right here in the drop down, I go up, go to desktop, and practice class is right there. So I'm going to click open and next. And now I get to map it to the correct field. So the class name, I labeled class name as my header. So that is correct. My first name was labeled first name. My last name was labeled last name. My username is going to be the ID number, my student ID, the ID number, and password is ID number. If you notice the navigator fields without the asterisk, those aren't necessary. But for ours, the best practice is for students to have the password as their ID number. It's the easiest, so they only have to remember one thing, which is both the username and the password. So you click next, and then OK. And so now when I come to the drop down, practice is a class that I can choose from. So we go to practice, and I can see I have two students that were in my practice Excel file, and that's Tinkerbell, and Charlie Brown. So the display name, that's if you want to, over here, have it displayed with the display name. You can have, when I do the class capture, I can display the full name, the last name, first name, or the display name. I like to do the display name, and then if a student has nicknames, then I edit the field and make sure that I use their nickname. So Tinkerbell, her display name is going to be Tink, and then Charlie Brown, his nickname is Chuck. So we're going to edit that, and instead of Charlie, we're going to put in Chuck. So now I have the display names, first name and last name, their username and student ID. So once you have all your students in here, then what you can do is also add a teacher as a student. And what that does is it gives you the freedom to walk around and use the handheld to direct the class rather than being stuck to the computer in a certain spot in your room. So to do that, you're going to go to File, Settings, and then you're going to go to Teacher Preferences. In the username, I just call it teacher. And the password, I usually just do 123. You can make it whatever you would like to make it. And I have this checked, add teacher to classroom view. I uncheck this, which is randomized order and screen capture. I don't really want it to be randomized, so I want to individualize the teacher handheld in the screen capture and click OK. Okay, so now there is a teacher field there. And so when I begin the class, I can control the screen from a handheld just like my students do. So let's go over some features that are really nice in this view. You can come down here in the bottom right corner and you can look at the seating chart. And so you can easily take attendance if you move these around and put them by their seating chart. Okay, and I'm just going to put the teacher up here in the corner. So if you notice on here that you're missing a student, you had a new student come in, transfer from another school, you can come over to this icon where it has a plus and the one student and individually add that student. So we had Peter Parker transfer in, which is really exciting. His username is going to be 333, and his password is also 333. His display name, of course, is going to be Spider-Man, and his ID is also 333. And you remember that this student's not only in this class, but he's in another class as well. So you can choose, if you come here to assign classes, the other class that he is in. You can put this student in multiple classes. So I'm going to click OK and click Finish. And now I see my Spider-Man student, my Peter Parker, that has been added. And let's say he's over here by himself. So I'm going to click Begin Class. And in order to demonstrate a student logging in, I've connected a handheld with a USB cord to my computer. I'm going to come over to the Content tab, and I'm going to show you what that screen looks like. But before I do, I just want to point out that I have CXs as well as CX2s, and the software works with both of them. So one of the calculators I'll sign in with is a regular CX, and the other calculator I'm going to sign in with is a CX2. Also, if you see a little warning sign, that warning sign means that that handheld needs an update on the operating system. So I'm going to click on this guy right here, the CX2, and make him our live presenter. And you can see his screen pops up. And I'm going to click on number 5, settings, and then number 5, log in, so that the student can log in. So we're going to have Spider-Man log in. So his was 333, and his password was also 333. And you would just click log in. If the network is not showing right up here, if the network's not showing right up there, you would click network, and then you would be able to choose the one that is the correct for your access point. Okay, so right there, I only have NASD, but if there's other classes around you that are also using the access point, there will be multiple here. So make sure to tell the students to choose the correct network if it's not already chosen. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that. And then I'm going to log in. And you can see it says you are logged in as user 333. Okay, so that's how a student logs in on the calculator. And we're going to get the other ones logged in so we can do a quick view. To check which students have logged in, you can come over to your class tab, and you can see the ones that are highlighted are the ones that have logged in. So you can say, hey, check, need to log in, get logged in. Okay, so we're going to leave him actually logged out so you can see what that looks like as we do the quick poll in the portfolio. All right, so now to do a quick poll, we're going to come over here to this little box and click on that. I'm going to choose a multiple choice, click insert, and it pops up here. So you have the option. You can pre-make these in advance and do the quick poll, which is one question. You send one question at a time. Or you can just say, hey, guys, go ahead and number 3 on your paper, send that on in. Just put number 3, and then you can start the poll. There are some options. So I want you to come over here to where is it, quick poll options right here under tools. And there's 2 things here. Allow document access. So if you want the students to be able to go to a graphing app or a calculator app to do some of that work there, then you're going to have to allow them the access, or else they'll be stuck in the quick poll without access. And sometimes you want them to have it and sometimes you don't. So just make sure that you do the quick poll option for which one you want. You can also allow them to resubmit, and that's nice. Sometimes the students accidentally submit and need to resubmit, so you can allow that resubmitting as well. Okay, so I'm going to do them both. So just make sure my options were saved. They're both checked, so we're good. Once you check your options, you can click Start Poll, and the students will receive the poll. Okay, so let me capture the class so you can see what that looks like. Okay, I want the whole class, and press OK. And here you can see that Tink is logged in and Spider-Man. Chuck didn't log in. Remember, I wanted y'all to see what that looks like. And you can move all your absent kiddos, or the ones that are not logged in, to the end, and you can order them around. So the teacher I'm going to put at the end, and so my logged in students are up at the top. Another nice feature here is you can go to view and you can go to zoom percentage and do fit all. So if you have a large class, you can make sure they all fit in there. Okay, so this is a nice big view so you can see what the students are doing. Okay, the other things here are the refresh rate. So it'll refresh every 15 seconds, so give it some time. If you are impatient like I am, then you can click refresh and you can see what the students are doing immediately. Okay, so I'm going to set up the screen side by side so you can see what it looks like for when I send the quick poll to students. Okay, so now we're going to begin the poll. So you can see my 2 students are signed in over here. And when you click Start Poll, you'll see that their screens will change to show that the poll has been received. Okay, I'm going to click refresh because I am very impatient. I didn't want to wait 15 seconds. Okay, so now you can see the students, they're been given the poll. This one here looks a little different from this one because of that operating system update, and one is a CX2 and one's a CX. But you can see that they both received it. Okay, so then over here, some options you have are that 0 of 2 are working and 0 of 2 have submitted. So on the screen, I'm just going to have 1 choose A and 1 choose B. Okay, so for a student to submit, they're going to click Doc and then number 1, Submit. Once that student submits, you'll see 1 of 2 is submitted and 1 student is still working. So then over here on the other students, I am going to, instead of clicking doc, I'm going to come up to the top, and at the very top right up here, the student can click on the down arrow with their touchpad, and then the option will also appear. Let me refresh that so you can see it. Will appear, and they can click submit by pressing 1. Okay, so I'm gonna refresh. Now, the reason why the quick poll did not go away is because I did allow them to resubmit if they accidentally did it. If you want them to only have one chance and for it to go away, then in the options, make sure you put do not allow to submit. Okay, now once everyone submitted, I click stop poll, and I can click on this little tab here, and it shows me exactly what the students entered. If I hover over the bar, it tells me who answered what. Okay, so if you don't want students to see who answered what, don't hover over the bar. But you can definitely move your screen off from the projector and look to see who is answering what question. If you would like to show the correct answer, you can click on one of the options and you can say mark selected correct and show correct answer. And then the correct answer will appear in green. You could also have set that up over here in the document before we sent it. You could click on the toolbox and choose the correct answer there as well. You can also choose a multi-response and have 2 options as an answer. Just like that. The circles now change to squares so the students know that there's more than one correct answer. Okay, so those are some possibilities you can do with the quick poll. In the review tab where we were looking at the answers, there are, besides the toolbox, there's the options where the quick polls are. And then we also had who answered what. So if I click on here, that is the students tab. So I see Spider-Man had put A, Tinkerbell had put B, and I know Chuck, the one that didn't answer, he's in red because he didn't log in and he didn't answer. Okay, so you can display students' responses there. If you click the settings, you can choose what to display. What's really nice about the quick poll is that it tells you in the moment whether kids are getting it, whether they're not getting it. It also tells you if there's any misconceptions. So if half the class is divided between A and B, we really want to look at those choices and say, okay, what did those kids that chose the wrong answer do? Maybe those kids confused domain and range so that all of the A's put the correct numbers, but they chose Y instead of the X. So this does provide you valuable information to help you as you're in the moment of your lesson to help students. So just a reminder, the quick poll is only for one question at a time. If you'd like to do more questions, for example, if you have an exit ticket, then you would send that document to the class. So let's go over here back to the Documents tab. And let's say that we had this exit ticket that we wanted to give the students. If you want to, and it has 2 questions. If you want to send more than one question, then you're gonna come over and open up the document, and then you're gonna send it to the class. So instead of doing quick poll here, there's this icon that's pointing to the students. Okay, and that icon appears here in the Documents tab. It also appears in the Class tab right there. So you have a choice to do it in the document or the class. Okay, I like to do it in the document because it has the document open and I know exactly what I'm sending to the students. So I'm going to go to send to class. And so it says, who do I want to send to? I'm going to send to all of them. So if Charlie Brown, who's not logged in yet, comes in late, he will still get it once he logs in. So if I click logged in only, then he wouldn't get it. Okay, if I need to send it to one student only, I would click individuals. Okay, I click finish and I'm going to watch over here and see that the document has been received. It's in the folder practice and it's called exit ticket. So the students are going to click go to or okay based on which one they have. And you can see the students now received this file starting with this first one. And then if the students go to the right, then you'll see it update to see what page they're on and what question they're on. So I'm just going to put some answers in. Okay, so once you've given the students some time to answer and respond, then you're going to collect it from the class, and that's from the class tab. So I'm going to go over to the class tab, and this arrow here saying take it away means to collect from the class. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to select the file I want to collect, and I click on next. There are some options here. I'm going to collect it from the whole class, and I'm going to delete it from handheld after collecting. And I'm not going to collect logged in only, I'm going to delete it from everyone's. So I click finish, and you'll see on the handhelds that it has now been transferred. Okay, so it says transfers complete. So over here on the class record, you can see everything that's been done. We sent the quick poll, we sent the exit ticket, we collected the exit ticket, and we deleted it from the handhelds when we collected it. Okay, so if you right click, there are some options. You can open and review workspace, you can save to selected portfolio, or you can send it back to the class. Okay, so if the students didn't finish and you want to collect it and then send it back, it will send it back to the students. All right, so I'm going to open and review workspace to see how they answered. And it says for the following 2 questions, let's see, that was for this one. So I think I just answered the first question. So you can see one student answered that one and one student got it correct. Okay, so that correct answer was put on the toolbox question for that before we sent it out. One thing I would like to also point out over here on the class tab is if you click on it, it tells you which students it was sent to. Because Chuck wasn't logged in, it was sent to the Spider-Man and Tinkerbell student. Teacher also wasn't logged in, so it didn't get sent to the teacher one. Okay, it also tells you who it was collected from and where it was deleted. Another really exciting feature of the Navigator system is the ability to let students present what they've learned. Okay, so for example, in the documents, let's say we're going to send them an exploration. So in this exploration, they're exploring transformations with sliders. So the students are going to go through and they're going to figure out what does adding a value at the end of a function do to it. So they manipulate it and they move it to solve it. And so then they make some conjectures. So if a student has conjectured that moving this has moved up and down, you can set them to be a live presenter. So I'm first going to send this to the class. So send this file, finish. Okay, over here you'll see that the transfers were complete. All transfers have been clicked. We're going to click open. And then you'll see the file has been opened up for the students. Okay, so if, for example, I want Spider-Man to present, I'm going to right-click on him and select Make Presenter. And then it will go into full screen mode, and it looks just like this. And that Spider-Man can control the screen in real time. And let's say he's explaining, he says, I think D shifts it up and down. If it's positive, he can demonstrate that. If it's positive, it'll go up. And if it's negative, it will go down. So this is a powerful way to get the students engaged in the learning and take ownership of what they have learned. Okay, so we've seen a little bit of the documents tab, we've seen a little bit of the class tab. We looked at how to review questions. Now let's go ahead and look at the portfolio. So in the portfolio is the assignments, and you have to send them here. If you're looking for the assignment and it's not there, then go back to the class, and that assignment that you want to be part of the portfolio, which is kind of like a grade book, you have to send it. So let's say we wanted to send the exit ticket. So I'm going to click here and choose Save Selected to Portfolio. It's called Exit, click it and click Save. And then in the portfolio, I can now see who got it right and who got it wrong. So I had only answered one of the 2 questions for Spider-Man, so he got one of the 2 and Tink got none. Okay, some options here. For each assignment, you can sort them in ascending and descending order. You can redistribute. You can open the master document. You can remove it. You say, let's try this again. You can remove it and you can rename it. Okay, so those are some of the options you have in the portfolio. One of the last things I would like to show you is in the Content tab. If you would like to send files that TI have made, they have some really good files to send to students to explore. You can come here in Web Content. There is Activities Exchange and Math Inspired and Science Inspired. In the Math Inspired, you have the options to filter based on subjects and topics. So let's say I'm in math and I want to select Algebra 1 because I'm looking for a slope activity. So in the category, there's functions, linear functions, but I already see over here there's slope as rate, okay? I can also filter by keyword. So if I wanted to select all and say search all of them, all of the files by slope, then what I can do here is put in slope and enter, and it'll find everything that had slope in it. Okay, so I wanted the Algebra 1 level slope as rate, but you can also see there's slope fields for calculus. So it had anything with slope included on there. Okay, so if I want to send that to students, so if I wanted slope as rate, I can come over here. I could save the activity to the computer and upload it and send it to the students, or I can right click it and say send to connected handhelds. So a couple different options there. Another way to get files is from the TI website, education.ti.com. When you open up the website, there are some activities, and you can search all classroom activities. You can search by the type of device you have, 84, so Math Inspired. Okay, so there's lots of different ways you can do that. I'm just going to go to Math Inspired, Algebra 1, and it has featured activities as well as other activities that you can look for. So let's say I'm looking for a middle school activity. I'm going to come over here to middle grades math. Okay, and then I can look at these featured activities and I can look at the options over here. So I'm just going to look at this one, slope as rate. That was kind of like the one we were looking at earlier. And once it opens up the activity page, it gives me the objectives, some important vocabulary, and a little bit of information about about this lesson. Over here, you'll see that you have some options to download all the files as a zip file. You also have student activity as a Word document that is editable, and the student activity as a PDF, and the teacher notes as a PDF, as well as a TNS file that goes with those documents. So I'm going to download all the files so you can see what that looks like. And then I'm going to open that up. So here's the file, and I want to put this TNS file on my software so that I can send it to the students. So I'm going to open it up by double clicking it. It will open in the software. There it is. And here is slope as rate. So it tells me to drag points A and B, to change a line passing through the points, and for the students to look at the question, what happens to the ratio of the vertical change to the horizontal change as you move A and B. So here the students are going to be discovering about the rise and the run, the vertical change and the horizontal change for slope. So they can click this and hold the touchpad, and then they can drag it, and this is dynamic. It will automatically change. So the students can see that when it is increasing, I have a positive slope. When it's level, I have a zero slope. And when it's decreasing, I have a negative slope. They can also see that rise over run with the red and the blue change. That's also here. So I really like this activity and I want to send it to students. So I'm going to go to this here, which is send to students. It will ask me to send it. So I would send it as a class, just like I did before, and select finish. Okay, so now the students now have that activity. They can explore just as before. And if you wanted, you could have them do a quick poll and send in what they think is happening. So everyone is contributing to the lesson. So that is how you get a file from the website onto your software so that you can send it to the students. Another really useful way to use a navigator is by using the handheld by itself to show calculations maybe on top of some Google slides. So for example, if I'm in the Documents tab and I click on this calculator, there are some options here. So there's keypad and side screen, and that's what I see now. So I see a big view of the keypad as well as the side screen. But I also can see the handheld only and the handheld and the side screen. So handheld and side screen shows the whole calculator as well as a big version of the screen. If I do handheld only, I now can see it and move it around, and I can put it always in front, so it always appears in front. And so now I can use the calculator along with, say, something I'm presenting in the background. So if I wanted to, I could go home, start a new document, number 1. I don't want to save that, click no. And so now I can pull up a graph, number 2, and I can have this graphing calculator on the side as I'm going through and working through the problem with my students. Another useful tip that I have found while teaching and making videos is to, let me put this back in the keypad and side screen, is if I wanted to side-by-side screens. So what I can do here is I'm going to right click down here on the tab, and it says new vertical group. Okay. So that gives me the way to see 2 screens at once. And I do need to make this a little bit smaller. So down here, I'm going to change the zoom by going minus until I can see both screens in their entirety. There we go. So what I can have over here on this screen is possibly a notes page. So I'm just going to insert notes. And maybe this is an image or it's a question that you want to pose for the students. And then you'll have the other screen over here, maybe being the graph app, but you want to have this as well to reference. So you have them both up at the same time. And that was one more time by going to the tab that you want to split. You right click it and you say split to a vertical group. If it is already split, you can see there is change tab groups orientation and move to previous tab group. Okay, so I hope those little tips and tricks help out a little bit. One of the other things you can do is if you want to take an image to put on a worksheet. So if I'm here and I want an image of a graph, let's go ahead and get rid of this view. To get rid of it, we're going to say move to previous tab group, and it moves them all to the same tab group. Okay, so now I'm going to make my screen bigger over here by using the zoom to full screen. And then I'm going to press tab, and let's say I want to picture the linear parent function x, and I press enter. So to get this view, to take a screenshot of this, the shortcut is to press Control and J, and it will take a screenshot. It pops up down here, and you can view it. So there it is right here, that linear parent function. Another way to capture it is by going to the camera and doing capture page. And you see that shortcut Control J pops up. So you can capture page. It should also pop up. There it is. View it. And once you're here, you just press Control C and it will automatically be copied for you to paste on whatever document you're working on. Another little tip that you can do when you ask a question is if you want to insert a question, you can set it up so that it is also a split screen. So if you go to Doc and do Page Layout and then Custom Split, you can do Custom Split or Select Layout. I'm just going to do Select Layout. I can do 2 verticals, and then I have the question over here, and I have maybe a graph referenced on the right. You could have that done as well. Okay, so there is my f of 1. So I could ask a question like, what function is being displayed? And you can put your choices in there and change them up. So let's say I'm going to put y equals x. That's the answer. You could put y equals x squared. You can put in, oops, let's go ahead and fix that. you could put in y equals x plus 2, or maybe y equals, or maybe you only want 3. So if you want only 3, you would delete and then it would go away. So to mark the correct answer, you would open the toolbox and then you can mark the correct answer for the students. And if you notice here, this is regular type font. If I wanted to, I could make it a little bit more fancy and put in a text box. So up over here in the toolbox here or over here, I can do insert and do expression box. And then when I type y equals x, it will look a little nicer in that typed math font. So now let's see what this looks like if you sent this to the students. So I'm going to just do this as a poll, start poll, it's that single question, and pull up what that looks like on the student's page. Okay, so I pulled up the screen capture. So once again, to get that, that's the camera. And then I pulled up the 2 that were logged in, and I just moved them around so you could see a nice view. And so if a student wants to go from here to a different application, what they would do is press home. So I am going to press home on this calculator and then refresh so you can see what that looks like. And then let me go ahead and make this student the live presenter so you can see their screen really nice and big. Okay, so here we go. There's really nice and big. So now they can go to a new document, and this is because I allowed them to access other apps while they're doing the quick poll. So if I go to new, number 1, new, and then choose maybe a calculator screen, they can do some calculations here, whatever they need to do. If they wanted to, they could add a page and they could do a graph. Whatever helps them solve the problem, they're able to access those different applications. And then if they wanted to go back to the quick poll, what they're going to do is press the home button again. And you can see quick poll appears as letter C. It is also at the top. Let me go back to that current one that we're in. And there, and you see at the very top, it has that quick poll, the return to quick poll. They'll see it there as well. So they can get back to the poll and go back and forth between the apps in those 2 ways. I hope you found this presentation useful. If you have any questions or need support, you can always go to that TI website, or you can call 1-800-TI-CARES, and they're always very happy to help.